Hi, and welcome to SCW here on YouTube.com. Thank you for choosing the channel and choosing the video. Please subscribe right now. Leave in the comments in the comment section. Please like and share the video as well. Talking AEW Rampage is going to be the name of the game at the start of this video. And from there, we're always going to be taking your questions in the wrestling community on anything related in wrestling. It can be AEW, can be WWE, could be Impact, could be anything you like. But of course, we're going to start things off by talking about Rampage to begin with. And if you're not sure of what the matches are this evening, I've got that sort of right for you here right now. So that's what we've got to look forward to this evening, AEW Rampage. First off, I'm really looking forward to it. I think it's going to be exciting to have it. I do think it's another show on the wrestling week, which is quite heavy already in general. But what I will say is that actually for Rampage itself, for AEW, I think it's exciting they're going to have this second show. It's like a Thunder. I don't really pay too much attention to Dark and Dark Elevation anyway. So for me personally, I look at this and I say to myself that with Rampage, this is that extra hour that's going to go somewhere else in the week. It'll give other people proper TV time, get other superstars over. We've got big matches tonight, and it feels like they're going to at least treat the first couple of weeks really big here. And we saw the matches there of what will be week one. We know that it's going to be in the All-State Arena in Chicago for week two. And of course, there's big rumors that CM Punk could be the one joining there. But of course, without further ado, let's go quickly to the chat room before we talk about the first match that we're going to go with here. And we've got Renegade Ryan says, "Yo, Steve, thank you for checking that stream. Hope you're doing well," as well as Jeff Samuel as well. We have a couple of questions come flying in nice and early, and I'll just take the AEW stuff just for now. We'll come back to the actual WWE stuff afterwards, if you don't mind. But we've got Jonesy's in house. Says, what do you reckon about debuts on Rampage after the Britt Baker match? He reckons Peyton Royce. I mean, Cassie Lee could be an option there. That would be quite big. I mean, you want to end the show with something major happening. And of course, the main event of this show will be the AEW Women's Championship with Britt Baker, DMD. I'm going to do it every time. Going to be taking on Red Velvet. Like you said, you want to have someone perhaps to come in, make a big statement afterwards. I wonder how many debuts are too many debuts, though. That's probably a big question we need to ask ourselves. Would there, be overloading this roster? I mean, there are rumors that Kiera Hogan is actually going to be with AEW. She has left Impact Wrestling. She could be certainly a prime candidate. You've mentioned Peyton Royce there. That certainly is a strong option. She's now long gone her 90-day release course from WWE. Of course, she is a partner to Sean Spears in real life. I believe they're married, if I'm not mistaken. So there is something there that could happen there with that. I'm not so convinced we will definitely get some form of debut. I think they're going to look to try and do something tonight where it's in Pittsburgh, it's Britsburg if you want, it's the hometown girl. I think they're going to want to try and keep the crowd happy, kind of giving a spoiler away there to one of my potential results already there. So what I will do, and just say Renegade Ryan does reckon there'll be 3 debuts tonight. That would be major if there was, that would get everyone talking. That would be almost as many debuts as matches. So I'll try and do it as quick as I can, then going through some of these matches. And feel free to join in with your predictions and your thoughts on the matches. Anything that's not been answered already, I will go back to it. So don't worry, you're not going to be missed out on this. But of course, the first match, which will be the opening match in Rampage history, is actually going to be for the Impact World Championship. It's going to be the belt collector, Kenny Omega, going to be defending against Christian Cage. And of course, the funny part about this match here is not only is it the first match ever in Rampage history, it's also going to be for the AEW Championship at All Out. So this is the first of 2 matches. These two going to get very used to one another over the next number of weeks. And of course, some people are going to say that they're not feeling this because of the fact that we had the build of Hangman Page. He's now been written off for TV. Apparently, he's expecting his first child, so congratulations in advance. That's why he's not going to be involved in the match here at All Out. But Christian Cage has been undefeated. He's been winning matches. He's in a strong position here. And what's interesting about this match here is the Impact World Championship going to be taking place against 2 AEW superstars. But of course, Christian Cage has had a lot of history with TNA Impact Wrestling in the past, but of course, when it was under the TNA banner, arguably some say an original. We're going around 2005 to 2008, that sort of area. And of course, that's where Christian became that main eventer and was used to being a world champion. So it's really exciting to see. Christian Cage just said he's going to be on Impact Wrestling next week as well. Does he come with the championship? How do you build up between here to the pay-per-view match? Is it the right thing for Kenny to drop one of the belts? Is it right here for actually perhaps Kenny Omega to look dominant going in, still being the collector? Is it right for Kenny Omega to drop the championship not on Impact Wrestling? Does that damage the Impact brand? Is it better for Kenny Omega, who's been in Impact for most of 2021, in fact, even towards the end of 2020, but has been champion since Rebellion? is it right for him to drop it on an Impact show rather than here on Rampage? There's a lots of questions here, lots of answers to go in. The comments are come flying in already. So let's see what a few people have got to say. We've got here Jonesy actually saying that he hopes that Kenny finally drops the belt, although I don't imagine Christian would be happy to be stuck on Impact TV again. He would look at it as a downgrade. Well, that would be interesting if he would too. He has actually said he will be on Impact next week, so I'm hoping if he is going to do that, it would be cool if he was going as the champion. I think momentum is the key thing here, but as I said, I would have preferred, and this is my opinion now, I would have preferred someone actually to have beaten Kenny on Impact. You get the rub on Impact, but I guess you've got a bigger audience here, I guess, if it's not an Impact pay-per-view. And, of course, the weekly TV show doesn't get the same sort of ratings here. Rampage is the first of its kind. You imagine it's probably going to look to try and get at least 500,000. And, of course, if you're judging off what Dynamite is doing, of course, when it went to Friday, wasn't getting the same sort of ratings. But if it can get what even Dynamite was getting at the start, then that would be amazing for that show. It would be amazing for Impact as well. So it could be a thing there if it was to go down. Jeff Samuel does say that he'd be happy if Christian wins the belt. And of course, we'll go Jonesy once again. He says he thinks that Kenny's pay-per-view match won't be against Christian. I think it's a red herring. Interesting. Kenny's Raw opponent should be someone else. And I think you may be alluding to one of your earlier comments potentially. But it would be interesting how it would go down. And SC Williams in the house. And thank you very much for checking out the stream. Highly doubt it. But what if Jungle was to make a mistake costing Christian the match? And then this Wednesday, Christian turning heel on Jungle Boy. That's what I'm hinting. Christian versus Jungle Boy at All Out. Well, of course, the match had been announced there, but like you said, as Jones said earlier, what if it was a red herring and something was to change? Certainly would be fun, would be exciting. I love the creativity already coming in the comment section early doors in this video. But to give a prediction then, because like I said, this goes backwards and forwards, and feel free to say what you actually think will happen now in the comments. I'll give you a shout out as well. I can't see Kenny Omega dropping a belt, but I do feel here that if Christian was to lose this match, what does that do for All Out? It does nothing for All Out. And I'm gonna have to go on the feeling that it's not a red herring, that this is the match we're going to get, and we're going to build. We know the debuts that are potentially rumored of CM Punk, Bryan Danielson on the way, but what's going to happen? Will one of those be future contenders at Full Gear? I'm going to go with that philosophy. So the match currently is Kenny Omega versus Christian at All Out. For that reason, I'm going for Christian Cage to bring it home for Impact, to be on Impact as the world champion next week. And this is what I think then will happen for All Out. I think it'll be winner takes all. So both championships will be on the line on pay-per-view. Kenny Omega has a chance to become Impact World Champion once again on an AEW pay-per-view, which is great for Impact at that point, because that would really be high for big ratings. So that's going to be my prediction. I think Christian will actually bring it home. So that's going to be my prediction for that there. But I'll go on then. We have two other matches that have been announced. Of course, a number of questions you guys have thrown in as well. So I'm going to try to get those as soon as I possibly can. And the next match probably won't take too long to talk about. We're going to be talking about Miro against Fuego del Sol, the TNT Championship, where Fuego del Sol has been told if he wins this match, he will not only become the TNT champion, he will also get an AEW contract. Well, I mean, he has been performing on Dark and Dark Elevation for the longest time anyway. Fuego doesn't have the best win record in AEW, and I think I see the statistics somewhere. He's got like a 0.0019 chance of winning this match. Look, it ain't happening. The only Fuego in this match is how much fire Miro is going to be bringing, because Miro is going to be game over, and I think it's going to be quick. Remember, this show is only 1 hour long. We're probably going to expect a big opening match here with Kenny Omega and Christian, almost be kind of like pay-per-view level. I could even suggest actually there could be a DQ finish in that. I know fans wouldn't be necessarily happy with that, but that also would make some sense if they weren't to do the belt versus belt thing at All Out. But going back to Miro versus Fuego del Sol here, there's no other way, is there? It's surely Miro. I can't see it being any other way. But so I have been asked by Randy Sam, can Jay White show up with Chris Bay? And that would be interesting. Now, I know that Chris Bay has recently joined the Bullet Club, hasn't he, now with Jay White on Impact Wrestling. Bay's been hinting about something on Twitter. Now, that is a lovely little tease, something I've not seen, and that would be great for the Forbidden Door if those guys were to come in. We have seen Jay White interact with Kenny Omega and the Good Brothers when he turned up at Slammiversary. So that would make sense if you're going to try and build that. We do know everyone's going to be under one roof for Bound for Glory, so this is kind of looking more from an Impact perspective rather than an AEW perspective at this point. It's something I'd like to see. Is it something I expect to see? Perhaps not. And of course, that would be influential with Kenny Omega. Definitely wouldn't see it involved with some form of the TNT Championship. But we have got Marsha here with them. It says, is Fuego going full X-Pac tonight. So what if Miro was to destroy him, and then we get Miro versus Dusty Rose at All Out for the TNT belt? And that'd be an interesting feud. I don't think Dusty's gone for that belt for quite some time, so that could be quite interesting. But can you imagine, you say full X-Pac, I'm thinking 1, 2, 3 Kid when you say that. If there was to be the biggest shock of the universe, of course, against Razor Ramon back at the time when he started on Monday Night Raw in 1993. That would be quite interesting when he beat Razor Ramon. But no, I don't see it happening. Despite all the odds, Miro is going over. You drinking that water? Well, I am actually. Yes, I am drinking that water, I can say. But yeah, I'm personally, I'm going to say no for Chris Bay and for Jay White tonight, although I think it would be fun. And I do think that Miro is going to go and pick up the win. But let's not waste any more time. We've got one match to talk about, and then we can go straight into your questions. And I'll dive straight back to the top of the feed and work my way through for anyone that I may have missed. So let's flip through then. It is the AEW Women's Championship. We're talking, that's right, the Doctor, Britt Baker, DMD against Red Velvet. Of course, this is in Pittsburgh. Would Rebel, Reba? I'm not sure what they go with each week. It seems to change every time, doesn't it? I think personally, look, they're going to make the hometown crowd happy. It's in Pittsburgh. Britt Baker here, she's going to pick up the victory. As Josie alluded to earlier, is the big thing here going to be what happens as the fallout of this match? Is someone going to come in? Is someone going to debut? Is someone going to face off with Britt? Are we going to know the next challenger for All Out? It would make a lot of sense to do that here and now on week 1 on this show. You want to end with a bang. You want a reason to say, I need to tune into next week. You could already arguably have that stuff happening earlier in the night if there were some surprises, title changes. But I don't see it happening here. I think Britt Baker picks up the victory. I think it's the hometown crowd that goes on happy. I do feel if we're looking at a contender that could be going for All Out, and I'm not sure if people will turn around and say they like this or not, but let's look at Dynamite this past week. Chris Statlander has been on a good roll as of late. She beat Nyla Rose in pretty convincing fashion, who was the former #1 contender for Britt Baker not too long ago. I could see that match currently being the match for All Out, although I would like to see Ty Conti in the spot, although she's not really getting a lot of time on Dynamite. But of course, if there was someone to come in, certainly would be interesting, certainly would be fun. So I'm keeping that short and sweet there for you because that's my preview there for you for Rampage tonight. I think it's going to be an exciting show. Would there be some form of, surprise debut? We'll have to wait and see. I haven't got any names off the top of my head, although there are a ton of them that are available. I'd be here for a lifetime telling you all of them. So it'll be interesting to know. Let me know what you think in the comments below, and we will read them out as we go along. But Ricky Glow does say that Britt beat Red Velvet, and then Tessa Blanchard's music hits. How to kick some butt for the women's division, but can Brandy show up? Well, it would be interesting to see what happens there. I like the idea of that. That certainly would be interesting. Nuben Kota's got some great suggestions. Also says hello. Thank you for joining the stream as well. It might be Deanna Praza or Ruby Soho. Those two actually make a lot of sense there. And I'll tell you why. Ruby Soho, there's been biggest rumors for the longest time that she's going to be joining AEW's women's roster. And let's be fair, anyone who gets Ruby Soho would be a winner. If anyone watched Impact Wrestling this week and they were going for the predictions of Kenny Omega versus Christian Cage, Deanna Prazo had her little speech in this, and she said, until Tony Khan picks up the phone, opens that forbidden door for Deanna Prazo to come over there and defend that Knockouts Championship, she is not interested, and that's quite fun to see. So yeah, I love the idea of that, and I would be happy if it was either of those. So yeah, we'll have to wait and see. But Randy Sam says that that's good. That's good too, Noob, and loves those ideas. Jones says that Ruby Soho is the Joker, I reckon. Now that would be an interesting theory if that was the case there. That would be quite fun. Randy Sam also asking, would I be ready for Ruby Wright to come out to Soho? I would certainly be up for it. I can't lie to you there. I definitely love the idea of it being in any promotion. She's on my TV screen. I'm a happy man because Ruby, she's a fantastic in-ring performer. Jonesy, right, do we see Bray Wyatt in AEW by the end of the year? I'm going to make a bold prediction here and say yes, and here's my reasoning for it. There are problems now in and amongst the Dark Order at this particular moment, now actually with the treatment of Hangman Page, how some wanted to respect the idea that Hangman would go alone and he wanted to do his own thing. Others wanted to defend him when he got his beat down from the Elite that ruled him off of TV. I think this will play him quite well because either we unite the Dark Order under the leadership of Bray Wyatt, or we have a face version of the Dark Order like the John Silvers and stuff. We get the heel version of Evil Uno and Stu Grayson, and Bray Wyatt will be there. And I think Bray Wyatt, this is why I would say they're more as a collective, because I think he could come in and I think he'll actually take over the role that he wants to do, the job that Brody Lee wanted to do. It'll almost be like a tribute kind of thing, but it'll actually feel a very important leader. It would feel very good. It'd feel very special. And the thing that's key as well with his 90-day compete clause, when does it run out? It runs out on October 29th, which ironically happens to be 2 days before Halloween. And of course, around that time, there is a Rampage show. So that's interesting as well there. So that's why I'm going to go with that. I think that he could actually turn up on a Halloween-themed version there and to be with the Dark Order. And Jose says he'll ask now when he gets the chance to bring back to WWE chat, am I surprised with the lack of effort or the effort from WWE against AEW? Well, yeah, let's tackle that now then, shall we? Because we will go with all questions from here onwards. But it doesn't matter if it's AEW, WWE, I will go back to the top of the stream as well and go to some of those questions that come in early also. I do feel with WWE, unfortunately, at the moment, I am feeling a little bit lackluster. I'm not feeling the love. I'm not feeling Monday Night Raw, let's put it that way. I feel that with the treatment of Karrion Kross and with how NXT has been treated in the last 7 days, I have lost a bit of love for NXT as well. I did enjoy NXT this week. I thought the show was reasonable. I didn't think it blew my mind away, but it did okay. And funnily enough, the ratings went up this week. People were interested in what was happening with NXT this week. But with SmackDown I do enjoy, but I would turn around and say that I do feel that Roman Reigns versus John Cena, that rivalry hasn't really gone to plan, although I am of belief, as we mentioned SmackDown now, as that is also tonight, ironically, before Rampage, that apparently the focus though is to get us invested in that rivalry. They know the match is big enough, but WrestleVotes has come out and tweeted saying that they do feel that there has been a lack of emphasis with that. And I mean, as I think probably looking in other ways here with your questions going into a slightly different direction with it, if you're going with the idea of the fact that they are signing all these talents, AEW and WWE are not in the market to stop them, it feels like WWE don't seem to see the threat. They don't seem worried by it. They've let a lot of these talents go to begin with. We mentioned Bray Wyatt. Braun Strowman's another one. Daniel Bryan let the contract run out. They tried to re-sign him and he didn't. CM Punk, they've not gone for, but apparently it's the one talent they don't want back. So, I mean, could they let Adam Cole slip through the fingers as well? You would turn around and say that WWE, something isn't quite right here. They're not quite doing the job as well as what they should be doing. And yeah, I am surprised with the effort with WWE, because I do feel with fans coming back, I was expecting to be wowed, and I didn't get wowed from what I've seen. Unfortunately, so far, I got the initial buzz with the fact old fans are back and, certain little things that I thought was really cool and that, but then I'm aware of the piped in sound, so that kind of takes away a bit of the crowd energy away. And then some of the writing, what my only opinions of it. So yeah, I am a little bit lackluster. I'm a little bit disappointed. So right, what I'm going to do is I'm quickly going to go to the top here for the questions I haven't answered, because I feel it's a bit unfair. Those ones come in nice and early, and I should answer those ones and come back then to where we are. And I promise every question will get answered here. We're going to go for around the 40 minutes to an hour mark, depending on how many questions come flying in this Friday. So Martin Correa says, why hasn't John Cena and Roman Reigns been built correctly? Well, they wanted to build Finn Balor. At the same time, they want to build the feud for what goes on after SummerSlam. This made sense here for Finn Balor to perhaps be that ready-made opponent for that position. But where they've done this is a bit weird. They have, if it's Extreme Rules next, that's what I've now read on WWE. On my last video, I said I thought Payback would be a week or two after. Apparently, that's not the case. Now, if that was the case, I'd kind of say I understand it. They're trying to build two storylines at the same time. But if you've got 4 or 5 weeks to build Finn Balor after SummerSlam, you could have just dealt with this here. You didn't need to do all the malarkey they've done. So I think they have butchered it. I did like the sort of back and forth. I like the fact Roman Reigns rejected the idea at first. I do feel like John Cena should have worked his way in, but it seems like he's just cheated his way in. I know it's the same as WrestleMania 20 of what they did. They could arguably still turn this into a triple threat match, but I don't think that's going to happen. I just don't think that's going to happen at all. But yeah, I don't know. They just took a weird turn with this when the contract happened, and since then they've not been able to rebuild it up correctly. And the fact they've had John Cena in the building anyway for a number of shows now, I think Raw and SmackDown, and not used him on TV, that doesn't help it either. John Cena was at SmackDown last week, was on the dark match after the show, wasn't even featured in the show. If you've got Cena under the roof, put him in front of the fans. Let's be fair, it makes sense, doesn't it? It's not. It seems ridiculous that I even have to say this out loud, that people think, in WWE think that's a good idea not to put Cena on screen. You, I'm sure, are agreeing as soon as I say that straight away. Martico did go us as well, a match for Baron Corbin at SummerSlam. Don't think I'll have one, if I'm honest. If it will be, Finn Balor on the kickoff, but I don't see it happening at all. Personally, if I had to give my honest opinion, I don't see Corbin on SummerSlam at all. He's going to continue going this downward spiral until he finds his happy place, which I'm not sure how or where that will be yet, but I'm enjoying it. I like the Corbin character. I think it's certainly a lot of fun. I'm looking forward to seeing where it's going to go. in WWE. It's one of the bright sparks and what I have felt has been a lackluster period in the company. Jamie Holmes, thank you for your question. How far do you see the Indy Hartwell Dexter Lumis storyline going? Do you think we'll get a wedding? And if so, do you think we'll hear DL talk for the first time with his vows? I think that part would be the comedy of it with Dexter Lumis if he didn't talk during the whole thing. Funnily enough, I saw a cameo of his actually today, of him actually talking. It's probably weird hearing him talk. But I think it's from a while ago as well, and I forget whose Twitter page actually shared that either. But with this, I think that there could be a likely direction where this could be going. With the changes of NXT, I mean, Dexter Lumis, he's a big guy as well. Probably not the youngest guy. He's been around a while, but I can see them looking to try and do this sort of storyline with these two. This storyline has gone for the longest time. It would be unfair for it to have that abrupt end at this point. So I personally hope that they do go somewhere with this. And now, of course, Candice LeRae actually is pregnant as well. I'm guessing she'll be written off TV. It'll probably be Johnny Gargano, probably for the majority of the time, trying to get in the mix with what's going on with these two, unless they keep it outside the ring entirely. But yeah, I mean, a wedding, NXT wedding, I can't think if we've had one off the top of my head in NXT before. But yeah, first time for everything. It would work as the real odd couple. It'd be interesting what road they would go down. I'd quite like it. Yeah. Very, very interesting. I think that's a really cool question. We've mentioned a lot about Rampage so far during this video, and Martico does ask if there's too much for AEW and what does the benefits really have for TNT. Well, it's another show for TNT. It will build up AEW, significantly, especially if these first 2 weeks go as what are rumored. I mean, particularly you've got these title matches on this first show. It's almost like Champions Night if you want. If CM Punk turns up next week, Rampage is set for the next 6 months to a year, even if nothing happens on it, because the thought that something could happen on Rampage for that next length of time, people will go for it. It does feel like it's a bit like WCW Thunder, but they're building this up well. They're building it up well early. I do feel that Rampage actually, I have to say, earlier in the week, I was talking to some friends and was like, yeah, it's too much in the wrestling can to have another show. But as we're now here on Rampage night, I'm quite amped up for it. I'm looking forward to it. Should be really exciting. And last of Martin's questions there as we go through, because I'm going through from top to bottom now, don't miss anybody. Did ask who will challenge Miro at All Out. And that's a very good question. Who will it be? Let me know in the comments below, because my mind is a bit blank at this moment of who should fit that role. But yeah, I mean, it'll be interesting to see who would fit it. I mean, Jungle Boy would be quite an interesting one because they've got the Tag Team Championship match going on this week. The only thing is, Jungle Boy, would he defeat Miro? I don't see that going down, but certainly would be fun to see that in that position. Orange Cassidy would be quite fun as well. Would get him onto pay-per-view. So those sort of would be the top two that would probably come to mind if I was to pick anyone. But I don't see Miro losing that championship for a long time now. I do feel that with him, yeah. I mean, Miro's he's even changed the colours of the championship. So yeah, I think Miro holds it for the foreseeable future. Jonesy, do we get hints of Punk tonight with like a vignette? Would you like to see Daniel Bryan debut tonight? Like Lex Luger on the first ever Nitro. We've covered Nitro before, haven't we, on my channel? It was a lot of fun back in the past. This is great retro reference there with Lex Luger. I would turn around and say that I don't expect a big debut tonight, especially if the one at the impact of CM Punk if he is to go next week. Do they want to tease something? Perhaps they could do. I mean, Darby Allin has been saying about the best in the world. Punk has actually come out and said that he thought that was Daniel Bryan anyway. I would love if Darby's on this show in some format just to give another hint, maybe another drop and say, no, I was talking to you. Because I think a lot of people expect it. I think at this point, if Punk doesn't debut next week, the whole of the wrestling community is going to go into meltdown, especially on Twitch. I think they're going to be very, very disappointed. So, yeah, I think that we need some sort of tease tonight. Maybe not a vignette, but I would say if I had to pick it, Darby Allin's the one that's called him out previously. I would like Darby to do that again. It's an interesting first opponent for CM Punk. I personally, I mean, I said in my last video, I really can't wait for when it's Malachi Black against Punk. I think that would be pretty awesome. And, of course, Cody isn't around right now, so I don't think we're going to get that either because Punk, with that authority kind of thing going on, even with the Elite, that would make a lot of sense. It would be a lot of fun to see, and particularly as well with CM Punk. And actually, I have to give credit to Wrestling Bob Aldridge for this, mentioning in his video this week, top opponents that you'd like to see face CM Punk. Go and check the video out after this one if you haven't already on his channel. He suggests the idea if Punk was to go against the Elite, not only have got that authority thing, but also Doc Gallows is in that super elite group. Of course, they have history from being part of the Straight Edge Society. And don't get me wrong, Serena Deeb is in that company as well. They could have a lot of fun playing out that. So that could be a lot of fun as well. So yeah, I want to see a tease, but I don't know quite where it's going to go, if I'm brutally honest, at this point. So yeah, let's go down then to other questions. I believe, Jones, you're actually my next question on here as well. Hang on, let's have a look here and see if I've got the right one. Yes, I have got the right one. AEW signed Punk and Bryan. WWE do nothing but go back to Goldberg and Cena. And Raw has been its worst in years. I thought they'd be saving storylines for when fans come back. He's Bang on the money. I can't argue with that because that's exactly how I have felt for the last considerable few weeks, sadly. And Josie does go on to say as well that he thinks that Punk next week takes away all the attention from SummerSlam unless WWE pulls off something shocking. I think you could be right, although SummerSlam it is a big event, isn't it? I think with that big stadium feel, I think it'll still be the big talking point, CM Punk. So I think you're right, but I think there's so much going on in wrestling next week that's going to be pretty exciting to see. And I think AEW, along with SummerSlam, along with TakeOver, there could be a lot of big talking points at the end of this. So yeah, pretty darn exciting to say the very, very least. So we are near the bottom end now. So people throw in all your questions as and when you can. I'm good to short, near enough, not far from being up to date now. Noob and Co, what are your thoughts on Keith Lee's talk about his absence from WWE? First off, thank goodness he's okay. Of course, Keith Lee, contracted COVID, was off for 3 weeks. Mia Yim took care of him. That's why she missed her Royal Rumble spot as a cause of it. And then there was, fears were over his health and stuff. It was really bad afterwards, and he wasn't able to train, wasn't able to wrestle for the longest time. The good news is that Keith Lee, first off, his health is okay. That I think is the most important thing. And secondly, how lucky are we that we get to watch him compete in the wrestling ring again? I think that's pretty darn awesome. So yeah, I wish all the best wishes to Keith Lee. For anyone ever speaks that's ever met him or worked with him and stuff like that, when you hear people talk about him, they say he's the most awesome guy ever. And he just comes across so humble when you watch him on television as well, whether it was on WWE Backstage or anything that he's involved with WWE. I feel that Keith Lee could be the megastar of the company, or one of them, if they were to give him that big push. But of course, I suppose right now it is the act of caution from WWE. But I'm personally so pleased to see him back. It almost to the point it's irrelevant if he's winning or losing at this point. I'm just pleased he's healthy, he's okay, and we get to see him back in a wrestling ring. It's so good to see. We've got Randy Sam says, who do you think Dan Lambert is going to be bringing to AEW next week? Any hints, maybe from the UFC? Yeah, I imagine it's UFC, guys. It's literally a carbon copy of Impact Wrestling a few years ago, isn't it? And I mean, what are we going to get? King Mo probably back again, maybe Rampage, something like that. Those, I think, were the people last time that he brought with him. It would be interesting to see if he got a big name with him. And look, let's be fair. Who's been in UFC that can make a big difference in the wrestling world that would get everyone talking? Brock Lesnar. It's not going to happen, but Jesus, a boy can dream, can't he? But no, I think King Mo, Rampage, probably the most likely. Probably, I mean, I'm not the biggest UFC follower, so arguably there could be two people that I've never heard of. That's pretty much how far we're going to go out of this. But either way, I think Dan Lambert comes in. It's probably going to make a bit of noise with it, but I expect the same sort of result as Impact, where he'll probably be sent packing on his bum by the end of it. That's what I can see happening. Joseph says, what did you make of the new planned direction of NXT? Well, I mean, personally, I don't like seeing loads of people lose their jobs. I think that sucks for one, with all the releases last week. But if WWE just simply didn't see the future of some of these people would be main eventing WrestleMania or have plans from the company, it's their choice of what they choose to do. And I'm sure a lot of those superstars will have, bright futures wherever they go. But Bronson Reed, you'd thought would have fit under that direction. Young, big guys who, look to have a future in WWE that could really push them forward. You can really see it with this breakout tournament. I think that's really where it's clear here. Odyssey Jones here. I think Duke Hudson is going to take that other final spot here, showing these bigger superstars probably going to get the push for the future in NXT. Week one, it's proven with ratings that ratings have gone up. So maybe Vince knows what he's talking about. And look, NXT, it's supposed to be a place that's meant to be a developmental, building people for for Raw, SmackDown. I don't really like saying the main roster, but it's supposed to be a feeder promotion. That lost that in 2019 when it went to USA #1, particularly when it went to Survivor Series and won Survivor Series. It's had loads of indie darlings since 2014. And some would argue, like AJ Styles, who jumped NXT, didn't go to their, Anderson and Gallows also. Do all these people need to go in NXT when they first come through? I look at someone like LA Knight, for example, perhaps not the most exciting athlete in the ring, but on the mic, he's second to none. He's got something that can offer something to Raw and SmackDown straight away. And there's loads of superstars in NXT that I imagine could do that right now. And if loads of those are going to be moved up and loads of new, fresher, developmental talent in NXT, it could go back to the NXT of old, or like 2012, 13, perhaps before 14 where it kicked in with that part. That I'm sort of okay with, but I don't like to see people lose their jobs. And I do enjoy NXT. I just feel that the problem with NXT is the fact, as I say, and I always look back at Survivor Series, people will say it was awesome. It was one of the best Survivor Series in years. But the problem was with NXT winning and being on that level with Raw and SmackDown, it was amazing at the time, but at the same time, the fallout of it ended up being seen as the #1 brand. It didn't keep its ratings up. It was completely ignored by Raw and SmackDown. Superstars from NXT get called up then to Raw and SmackDown, don't do anything. They get completely buried or released at this point, and you look and say, well, okay, well, what was the point of that? It's not worked. Then AEW wins in the ratings week after week after week. NXT has forced to change the direction. It's just done a lot of harm than good. And unfortunately, in my opinion, it's been a sacrificial lamb. And I think that's the problem of what's had to create this new direction. And that's why I'm okay with the direction of what they're looking to go in. Jones has also said, I wonder what the programs will be after SummerSlam and all the old timers go away. I really think we need dynamic storylines again. Did you see King of the Ring back again? Well, I'm aware that King of the Ring is coming back. I've also heard the Queen of the Ring is meant to be a special thing on Peacock. Now, correct me if I'm wrong on that in the comments below, but that's what I've heard. But I have not been as best of keeping up with stuff recently, as people probably well aware from my last video. But of course, I have managed to see everything at this particular point as well. I would say that Finn Balor and Roman Reigns is a certain direction that will go on after SummerSlam, unless Cena does win that 17th world title. Of course, Ric Flair no longer with WWE. What a best way to stick it to him than give Cena that 17th world title now. I still don't think it will happen though. But yeah, with other things that can happen, like you say, King of the Ring, that would keep things a bit interesting. The thing is, the draft will come up. So, I mean, they can make a storyline for here to now. You know they're going to start preparing for that draft. So we're going to be waiting another 3 or 4 weeks for things to kick in, to have that boost of the ratings from the draft, and hopefully some fresh storylines going forward. But yeah, I mean... I'm not that optimistic, let's be fair. All I can say to this point, Finn Balor, Roman Reigns, probably a number of rematches, but we'll have to wait and see. Nubico does say that will Andrade's faction be Chavo Guerrero, Rouge, Dragon Lee, Ric Flair, and Charlotte Flair? I could only hope. I love the sound of this faction. I know a lot of people are souring on the Chavo Guerrero thing so far, but hey, people weren't happy with Vicky Guerrero. I quite like Chavo. I know Chavo wasn't the main event guy. Perhaps maybe that's the thing that takes a bit away from Andrade, but to have a Guerrero there, that name history, I think is pretty cool. And you mentioned some of those names there from Ring of Honor, particularly Rouge and Dragon Lee. Of course, got their own faction going on down there. If they were to come out of contract, we're seeing Wheeler Yuta, it's just a completely separate subject, but remember seeing him in Ring of Honor. Now seems to be with AEW. Of course, they had a try in NXT as well. So it's not out of the realms that these guys could leave their contracts soon and perhaps could be coming over to AEW. I think Andrade would love it. I don't see Charlotte Flair coming anytime soon, but if that was a full-on faction, is it me? That feels like a main event faction. I quite like it, but yeah, seems pretty cool. Randy Sam's got a couple of ideas for Miro as well. He actually said that Miro versus Darby, I don't know who, but perhaps maybe he's even said the number 10 from Dark Order could be an idea, because hey, you know, it'd be quite cool to see him in that position. It certainly would be a big deal for him. He has had some main events on Dynamite in the past. I believe he was in the ladder match actually in one of the recent pay-per-views as well, but he's not quite sure who can face. Now, I'm not entirely sure who it could be at this point, but we'll have to wait and see. It should be pretty cool. Zach's from West Coast Podcast. Thank you for joining the stream. Hope you're doing well. He says, the legend that's SCW, thank you so much. He says, what's my thoughts on the Forbidden Door this month? On paper, it's great, but as a fan, I feel like I'm getting a pinball machine without proper builds like Camille this week on AEW. It's a really good point you make there, because, yeah, isn't it exciting that we're seeing all these people now all of a sudden a lot more flexible? We're seeing with New Japan as well. We've got Moose, we've got the Good Brothers, and all these other people going on this resurgence show. People come to Impact and AEW and all the rest of it, NWA, which you mentioned there with Camille. It's stuff that we turn and say it's really exciting, but like you say, without proper time and proper build. And I suppose we've not been afforded it due to the pandemic, but I hope as time goes on, they will learn from this and they will give us a reason to build this stuff properly. So, yeah, I mean, the Forbidden Door is very exciting. Like you say, it's lacking a bit of substance. As we mentioned at the start of the video with Kenny Omega and Christian Cage, particularly fighting tonight for the Impact World Championship, does this take away with the Forbidden Door that the title for Impact could change on not one of their shows? I think it does take away from the Impact brand. The only thing is, though, there could be a lot of a higher viewership watching it on AEW, and then people say, well, hang on, we've seen the Impact tag team titles this past week on Dynamite. We've now seen, you know, the championship change hands here. Maybe not, I just need to check out AEW. I need to check out Impact Wrestling next week. There could be that argument. So, yeah, I would agree. It does feel all over the place. I do want to see a bit more, and you mentioned Camille, so I want to focus a bit more on that before I move on to the next question. I do want to see a bit more build with her and with Layla as well as we go into that that match at the NWA show, because so far we've not seen too much. And for me, really, it does feel a bit of a mismatch. I can't see anything but Camille retaining that championship at this point. So, yeah, I want to be invested going into that show. Impact's doing a good job, actually, with the Forbidden Door, with Deonna Purrazzo and Melina. That feels like a big-time field fight. They need to try and do something here with these two young guns, because these two here could have a great match. Both of them on, in ring are decent, but like you said, I want a bit more of a build. I want a story. I want to invest into the story and a reason to root for one superstar over the other. Well, depending on how many questions we get, we'll be going for perhaps another 5, maybe 10 minutes, depending. But feel free to throw more questions in if you want to keep me online. We had Brandon Sandwich says, who do you think Dan Lambert is bringing? Like I say, I suggested there potentially King Mo, perhaps Rampage. I don't really know from the UFC standpoint many great names, unfortunately, that you could bring with him. But I think the higher profile you can bring in from UFC to come over to AEW, the better to actually make them turn around and say, right, okay, people from UFC think I'll give AEW a go, because that's good for the branding, it's good for the advertisement, it's good for everything. So for me personally, I would like to see that, even though I probably might not know who they are on face value straight away. But Nubico also does say that how about Bronson Reed is teasing to face Miro. I did see that this week. That was pretty interesting. I think that Bronson Reed potentially would be a great champion for Impact Wrestling, but I tell you what, I don't think he'd be able to go against Miro straight away. Certainly, I think All Out will be out of the question. But that looks like a match that would definitely be one that I'd be really interested in seeing. I would be really up for that match. It does almost feel like an AEW versus NXT dream match if you'd have put that on the table a couple of months ago. So, yeah, for me personally, I hope that we get this one day. Let's say Full Gear at this point. I'd like to see it. But, hey, we'll have to wait and see. But I'm going to throw one more name out there, because he seems to be involved quite a bit, actually, on AEW at the moment. And that's Frankie Kazarian. I don't really see much on pay-per-view matches at this point of view, but the Elite Hunter seems to be on TV a lot. It would be quite fun to see if he was in that sort of position to go for the TNT Championship. But hey, that's probably not going to happen. But I stick with my original prediction of Jungle Boy or Orange Cassidy. I think would be a good fit for the pay-per-view. But either way, whoever's facing Miro at the show, so will be just like Fuego del Sol tonight. They'll be tapping out. It will be game over. Miro will retain. Random Sam says, Tom Lawler for the American Top Team, his stable at MLW. Now, that would be interesting. I don't watch too much MLW, but that would be very interesting to see if that was something they could connect together. The Forbidden Door, as we mentioned with Zach's question a couple of minutes ago, would be used once again. That would be fascinating to see. It would be great for MLW, and yeah, it would be great for Dan Lambert to bring someone in as well. Good backup there. So, yeah, I mean, I'm open to the idea of it. I think that sounds like it could be a lot of fun, Randy. Like it a lot. Danny Barron says that, how do I feel about the Chris Jericho MJF storyline, and what will you make it end if you was GM? That's a good question. Thank you. I love playing fantasy GM. I haven't had enough time to play the Elite general manager game that they've had currently with All Elite Wrestling. I would look to try and do that at some stage. But looking at it, I mean, Chris Jericho and MJF, the match 5, I was hoping to be for All Out, so I'm a bit bemused of why it is. I'm guessing maybe Chris Jericho's Fozzy tour may be clashing with this, and that's why it's not on pay-per-view. I do feel that it's quite fun without the Judas music, but I feel just taking away Chris Jericho's finishing move, I think, yeah, I mean, Chris Jericho is a great way of reinventing himself. He's got the Walls of Jericho, he's got the Code Breaker, he's got other moves that he can use. So I feel MJF kind of has missed the trick here with this last stipulation. I think he could have done something that could have really got into his favor, really just, I don't know, even if Chris Jericho lost, his career was finished or something, just something a bit extra. But I think to finish this storyline, Chris Jericho needs to pick up the victory. That's one thing for sure. I think that MJF needs to get his comeuppance. This storyline, I was thinking about watching AEW, and this has been going on for nearly a year, which credit to AEW that they've managed to make this go, and it's not been boring throughout the entire time. I like the concept of what we've had with these 5 matches. I do feel, though, at early doors, some of these matches were more brutal than what we've had later on. But at the same time, I do think it's been quite fun overall. But if I was GM, how it needs to end, I think that this needs to end with just Jericho and MJF. No one at ringside, no one able to get involved. I would say a steel cage, but hey, steel cages get broken into, don't they? So we need this in some sort of format here where Jericho, MJF, no outside interference. Maybe someone gets involved, they get fired on the spot. That could be quite good for showing authority from Tony Khan. And at the end of it, Chris Jericho picks up the victory. And that way, MJF gets to come up. Because, hey, he's not lost for a long time in the singles match. It wouldn't harm him too much. And he's got 2 victories, he said, over Chris Jericho already. One in the singles environment I can remember. I'm guessing the other one he's probably talking about is probably the War Games match, or Blood and Guts, as they like to call it, in All Elite Wrestling. Now, apologies. I've done my best to hold off as long as I can. I think 40 minutes is not too bad on it. But we'll take a few more questions then, just before we close off the stream today. Then Eric Travis saying, how do you feel about Elias getting repackaged? And if you was GM, what will you do with him? Thanks, man. How you been? And is it in the water? Good, and because it's hot. I can tell you it's very hot where I am right now. In fact, it was a heat wave going on today. So yeah, it's hotter than it normally is. So I am really feeling it, yeah, hope you can't hear my fan in the background. But let's go into it with Elias, shall we? Now, let's be fair quickly. Elias, a character who works so well in front of fans. Now we've had fans for about 4 weeks. Elias is taken away, but Elias is one of these characters like Otis really suffered in the last 12 months without these fans, almost to the point that the character itself cannot almost recover from what's happened previously. So they need to repackage him. What would I do with Elias is very interesting to see. Perhaps some form of, I was talking to Jonesy about this the other day, actually, some sort of darker character could be fun to see, because now we don't really have as many of those characters now that Bray Wyatt and other ones have been released from WWE. But I don't see that happening. I don't trust WWE to book it right. So I wanted to go back to being some form of drifter in some format, maybe, I don't know, a lost soul, if you want, perhaps maybe Elias, to a point that maybe he could, I don't want to set up Baron Corbin because it's different. Corbin's kind of like lost because he's lost wealth, but Elias losing his identity almost, and almost being a lost soul that someone needs to find him, pick him up, maybe could convince him to, you know, do someone's dirty work for him, something like that. Or the fact is he's a lost soul and he just doesn't care anymore, and he wants to take out superstars left, right, and center. That could be an interesting dynamic of a way he could go down, but it's still very early days of what they're going to do with this Elias character and how they're going to repackage him. I'm looking forward to seeing what WWE has in mind, because I enjoyed the Walk with Elias character. I enjoyed what they did with him. I actually felt it's a little bit of a shame that they've had to get rid of it. Now fans are back, but like I say, I think it's just punishment for, unfortunately, this long length of time that these superstars that needed fans to work now, you know, have had to go through 16 months where there was no fans around. Eli Wads, thank you for joining us here. How do I feel Impact Wrestling lately? It's been quite good, but did you see who won the Battle Royale? But do you think Impact is missing that entrance like in TNA? I mean, the thing is with Impact, I do enjoy the product overall. I must admit, I did have a few weeks away from watching Impact, and I completely binge watched everything earlier on this week, and then I managed to catch obviously this week's episode as well. And yeah, the Battle Royale really took me by surprise here, and this actually could go into strength as well as why Christian Cage could win that championship tonight, because if it is going to be Kurt Hawkins now, who Brian Myers had to admit, couldn't remember his name there for a second. If Brian Myers is going to be the number one contender, it doesn't really fit well with Kenny Omega, does it? It fits more for Christian Cage to take on Brian Myers than it does the other way. I feel like there could have been someone better in this spot, but I think they wanted to, perhaps if Christian Cage is going to win this championship, they didn't want to do those big matches, those big hitters that early. I mean, if you do Emergence, for example, it's a kind of Impact Plus special. It's kind of like a pay-per-view, but it's not really one of their bigger shows, is it? So I think that's kind of how and why they're doing it. I think they're going to get away with it. But I do think overall Impact have done a good job. I like what they did with the homecoming stuff there, how they introduced the Drama King to come in and that. And of course, him with his crown now. I think that was pretty cool. Impact overall, I'm enjoying it, but I do feel they could do with one or two bigger names for around that main event scene. That's just my personal opinion. One other nitpick as well, I know Eddie Edwards as well, if he was going to be challenging Kenny Omega later down the line, could do with a win over W. Morrissey, but I didn't like W. Morrissey losing so soon into coming into Impact Wrestling. I think he should have remained a undefeated dominant heel, becoming champion further down the line. But hey, that's just my opinion on it anyway. But yeah, interested to know yours in the comments. I do want to say as well that do you think needs to bring back a composer in their music, or better off using their own music for the wrestlers? Well, actually, it's a very interesting question. With the old music back in TNA days, unfortunately, some of it I remember quite fondly, and some of it I don't really remember at all. I do feel that with the music overall, some of it can be generic, but I feel that with every company. I don't think any company has it perfectly. And I think I go back to like WWE's like Jim Johnston days. Those were the days where music was just epic from start to finish. Almost every superstar had the best music. And there was a period in NXT where they had it as well, where everything seemed to be really, really good. But now they're changing all those superstars around. So yeah, for me personally, I would say it'd be cool if whatever gets the best music possible, really, would be the one that works well. But I don't know what's the way to do it, really. Maybe they need to bring back some sort of composer in the music, but not every song is bad, I would say. Some I do fairly enjoy, and even though it's old school, like you say, perhaps going back into the TNA days, I like Chris Sabin's Motor City Machine Guns one. I like Eddie Edwards as well with his music. He always have a nice karaoke session when he comes down to ringside. So yeah, there are some good ones in there, even if they're probably a bit older now. Noob and Co. Who will face Charlotte Rhea or Nikki for the Raw Women's title after SummerSlam? If it's not Asuka, since she's on vacation, or Becky Lynch, she might be heading to SmackDown. Well, that's true. Becky has been rumored with SmackDown. Asuka, that would explain why she's been off TV. Mia Yim has been quietly transferred to Monday Night Raw. I learned today. I knew Naomi had gone to SmackDown. I didn't realize it was a trade. No one told me. So yeah, and perhaps Mia Yim could come into the picture. I still feel whatever happens after SummerSlam, it's those same three names that's going to be in the mix. Whether it's a one-on-one match, whether it's however they're going to do it, it wouldn't surprise me if it was Nikki and Charlotte continue on after SummerSlam. But for me personally, I'm interested in this triple threat match. I do feel that Raw is lacking something right now. I do feel Toni Storm was put on the wrong brand. I think going on SmackDown, she's been on there once, not been on there since. And another name that I think could do it coming to Monday Night Raw, because let's be fair, she was the most over at Money in the Bank. She's not been on TV since, is Liv Morgan. I'd love to see her actually brought over to Raw as well. Maybe they would be good contenders, perhaps going for the championship. But I have to wait and see what will go down. As I say, I think one of the three that are currently in the picture will obviously be champion, and one of the other two will be the challenger. If I had to put my money on it right now, I think it would be Nikki and Charlotte, even though we've seen the match probably too many times in quick succession already. Alex Radford with the next question now says that how am I feeling about Danny Garcia? Reminds me of a young Daniel Bryan. Great comparison, but can he cut a good mic? I like him. And 2.0 is very funny. Gives me Edge and Christian vibes of being very funny. Now I must admit, who thought Everrise would be like so quickly onto AEW? Saying that all these free agents, Everrise get there under 2.0, but they're so. They know how to maximize their time. They're really good with having these promos and having 20, 30 seconds to get yourself over. They do a great job of it. So, yeah, I mean, personally for me, I'm a big fan of them. And I like what Danny Garcia has brought to the table as well. I must admit, I've not believed in any of the matches that they were going to win to this point. But they did well on building Danny Garcia up this week, having a lengthy match there. That he had was it with Orange Cassidy, wasn't it? Mine's already going blank. But they had a good match this week. And also, you look at it with Danny Garcia, I mean, they said how he'd been in these other matches, 6 matches in 7 days, and they had like a 60-minute match with Wheeler Yuta on an indie show. So it goes to show that, there is some good stuff going on with these guys, and perhaps they've got very bright futures. AEW wouldn't be giving them this TV time if, if they didn't have belief in them. So, yeah, I'm pretty fan of what I'm seeing so far. We've got Underground in-house evening all, and evening to you as well. Thank you for joining the stream. This is Rampage tonight. Who's excited for tonight's debut? We are very excited, or say I'm very excited. It's just me on my own here on this week's show, but it seems everyone I've been talking to throughout the show has been excited and looking forward to it. So let me know your predictions, Underground. We've gone through the predictions already in the preview and stuff, but I'd like to know your feelings in the comments, as well as anyone else that didn't see this earlier on. Let me know your predictions. I'll give you a shout out as we go along through. And I will say now, we are going to definitely close things off in just over 13 minutes from now. We're going to go to the hour mark, and then we'll definitely close off the show for this week. So while you want to get the questions in, get them in now. I'll do first come, first serve up until the hour point. Alex Stratford, and do I like the Paul White's new theme? And I'm interested in him against QT Marshall feud. I'd rather Paul versus QT Big Man Komoto. Yeah, of course, yeah, the Komoto player. I can't say his name. I try my best to, but gets attacked by Tony's son, and Wright is the rescue. Yeah, that happened on AEW this week. I must admit, looking at it, it didn't really do much for me. It was a very filler spot. But, I mean, if you're going to get Paul White in the ring to do a match against QT Marshall, it'll be some form of squash match. Could be fun, a bit nostalgic for fans. So, yeah, why not? I'm all for it. And it did make sense that Paul White made the save for Tony Schiavone and his son, because they have been doing commentary work on Dark Elevation. So, and I mean, is Paul White going to be involved here as well? I know Mark Henry is on this commentary team as well tonight for Rampage. I know that's, if I'm not mistaken, it's Excalibur. We've got Taz, we've got Mark Henry. I can't remember the other one is. Maybe it's Shivani. I'm not sure. But we'll be interested to see how that's going to go as a quartet on the commentary tonight when it comes for Rampage. But yeah, Should be pretty cool. Derek K is in the house. So is that a special K we've got? How do you feel about Su Yung and Kimberly duo? Kimberly being repackaged is very interesting. And do I think it should be like Xia Li and, of course, Tian Shan, of course, to compare to that? Interesting, that comparison. I like the comparison you've made there. The first thing I was thinking about as well was Su Yung when she got Kimberly to do stuff. It was almost like Alexa Bliss and Lily with the doll, wasn't it? Where Alexa Bliss or Alexa has power of making superstars do what they want. I'm not really a fan too much of the mind control stuff, but I've been able to suspend my disbelief better with Su Yung, because that character, you have to suspend if you're going to believe anything what goes on with Su Yung. And I've always been, I mean, back into when she first came into Impact, we're going back 3 years ago, I was very motivated by her character. I thought it was amazing what she did when she first came in. She was almost like an Undertaker-esque character, and I loved watching it. So I hope that with this duo, they can do that. With Kimberly, I'm not convinced in the role so far, but of course, she is kind of going to be the number 2 to Su Yung on that point. So, and it almost feels as well that they almost come out as heels in that role as well. So it's interesting how they're going to play the dynamic here. Will they be baby faces going forward? Because of course, Tasha Steelz and her new, her heavy, I believe was it Savannah Evans, I believe is her name. They're now a duo, and of course now we got Su Yung and Kimberly. We're building up that tag team division again. That's good to see an Impact, something that's much needed. So, yeah, there is some positives with this for sure. I'm interested to see where it's going to go. I think it's too early to tell, though, if it's going to be really good or really bad at this stage. We've got Kane. Slow Chemical is the best theme of all time. That is an awesome theme. I do like that. It's one of my personal faves as well. They're good taste. We've got good taste in music underground, liking your style there. And All Out looking like a stacked card. I'm looking forward to Andrade versus Pac, as am I. Am loving what they're doing with that at the moment. Will the Lucha Bros eventually turn on Pac? Will be interesting, or will Andrade get his own stable, and they have stable warfare with those two? Could be interesting to see. I'm looking forward to see how it's going to go down. Joe Dawn, do you think Oscar needs a revamp, a new beginning, maybe a heel Oscar, but repackage her? Joe, I think you're on the money. This is not the first time I've had this question before, and I've got to say it's a very popular one. A lot of Oscar fans do check out this stream, and I want to see a heel Oscar. I want to see, almost go back to that, Kabuki Warrior style Oscar, where she was a heel, where we had the face paint, the mist. Almost like a Tajiri-esque. I think that's what we could see. Less talking, more action, less dancing, more violence, more victories. That's what I want to see from my Oscar. So, yeah, I want to see that. Maybe a move to SmackDown helps, but personally, I've said this previously on videos, I think that Charlotte Flair probably is the one. Get her away onto SmackDown. That way she keeps away from Charlotte having all the rematches with Rhea and Oscar on Raw. Of course, you still have the fear of them two having lots of rematches as well. But I think Oscar, definitely, yes, she needs a revamp. Second water break now. Jonesy, did you know AJ Styles' contract is due to expire soon? I did not know that. That is news and information for me. Jonesy, he's got some very good bits of insider information. Definitely a good reason to go and subscribe to Jonesy if you haven't already on his channel. What I'm saying is if AJ Styles was to leave WWE and to go to AEW, I'm not even mad. AJ Styles is my favorite wrestler going right now. And if AJ Styles was to be not in the tag team with Omos and was to go and have matches with the likes of Kenny Omega, Christian Cage, and, all the people over there, I would be so happy to watch that play out. So, yeah, I would not complain at all if that was to go down. Even if Adam Cole goes over there, can you imagine Adam Cole against AJ Styles in AEW? Hey, I'm a dreamer, aren't I? But, hey, I'm sure WWE will time down. I think AJ, at this stage of his career, probably will do one big contract to finish off and probably do what's best for him. So does he want limited dates? He probably can get what he wants from WWE. So I wouldn't be surprised if he wants to stay put either. And of course, AJ, if he wants to stay, in WWE, I would like to see him have one more WWE Championship run personally, just because A, he's my favorite wrestler, but B, I just think he is someone that could carry the main event area. I feel he's been knocked far too down the card for my liking. I understand they wanted to help him build up Omos, but I think that's run its course now. They need to lose those tag team titles. They need to have that singles match, split them apart, and let's get AJ Styles doing what AJ Styles can do, and that's being phenomenal, being one of the best wrestlers in the world, even if it is for a short term left in WWE. Joe Dawn, 2.0 versus Darby and Sting, back to us on TNT on Wednesday. Awesome. You're right, you know, Sting is going to be wrestling on Dynamite. I wondered if this was going to be the start of a build with Darby and Sting going for the Young Bucks for the tag titles at the next pay-per-view, All Out. We'll have to wait and see if that does go down. But yeah, I don't see any other result than Darby and Sting winning. But yeah, 2.0, again, they're finding TV time. They're doing great stuff. They're getting onto Dynamite where a lot of people, I mean, Ethan Page, another one of my favorite wrestlers right now, spends a lot of time on Dark or Elevation. 2.0, they're coming in, they find a way to get that TV time. So you've got to give props to them. They're doing well. Is it just me, or will the AEW Battle Royal going for All Out? It's going to be very good. Interesting. In the last question, yeah. I mean, we've had some great questions today. I wasn't aware about this AEW Battle Royal. So that's the first bit of news for me. If that's broken since, perhaps they'll give more detail tonight on AEW's Rampage. That'd be quite cool for me. But if you know it already, tell me. I'll make sure I talk about it before we end off here. But if AEW have got another one of their classic casino battle royales, that probably means we've got a debut on the way, and that definitely is exciting for anybody. Zach's the same prediction for the women's main eventing tonight. The Iconics will debut. Now, that is a hot one here. Josie thought as well, Peyton Royce earlier there, so you're definitely not on your own with that company. Great minds happen to think alike. I am going to say that I think if CM Punk debuts next week, I don't think we'll get a debut tonight, but it would make a lot of sense, wouldn't it, for Britt Baker to know at the end of the first Rampage ever who her opponent's going to be for All Out. So a stand down at the end of the show makes a lot of sense. And if it was a debut and if it was the Iconics, hey, I'm pretty sure that would be money. I think a lot of people would be actually on board with that idea, Zach. So I'm pretty sure you're not on your own with that. Underground, let's start that again, shall we? Daniel Garcia was trained by Shibata. I probably butchered that as well. But of course, I do know who he is, though. He was, of course, in his Japan dojo, if you guys didn't know, but I didn't know that. That's new information for me. And yeah, I mean, he seems like a great talent, Daniel Garcia. I'm looking forward to seeing what he can bring in the future to AEW. Of course, at the moment, he seems to be losing matches, putting other superstars over, but he's getting over in the process. Same as what they did with Dante Martin this week. What an amazing few minutes that guy had against the Elite in that opening match. I was sitting there thinking to myself, with all these matches, they all seem predictable and obvious, but they're finding a way of getting this talent over in the process of losing. It's a difference to what you see in AEW to what you see in WWE. So great job all around. How can they fix this Lily Doll situation? Surely it's the worst thing since the gobbledygooker. Oh, there's been some bad things since the gobbledygooker. Well, I mean, I tell you what, Lily Doll, for me, the only way you can fix it is to get rid of it. That is simply the only way to fix it. Or in the most bizarre, weird, transitional way that Lily becomes a WWE superstar. And we're not saying that the doll actually competes in matches. It actually is someone that morphs into it, which I can't believe I'm saying this as a 35-year-old on a live stream. But yeah, it's something I don't want to see. I don't want to see a Lily doll. I'm 35. I don't want to see it. Get it off my TV screen. That's the way to fix it. Just take it away from my eyeballs completely. Or put it on 205 Live, because I don't watch that show. Joe Dawn. Tony's son wants to wrestle. He wants to wrestle. Yeah, Tony Schiavone's son does want to wrestle. And what to say to get Paul and Tony's son versus QT and the gang All Out? Well, that could be a potential. That would be something that could happen. I would be fascinated to see Tony Schiavone on a ring apron. What would be his ring attire? That could definitely be a sight for sore eyes, couldn't it? Apologies, Tony. But yeah, I mean, the baby faces would go over, I'm sure, in this environment. But yeah, I like the fantasy booking, Joe. It does seem a lot of fun. I wouldn't argue with that whatsoever. It definitely seems fun. We've got a new one in the chat room there. It's got Riffing. Hi. Thank you for checking out the stream. Get a question while you still can. I will go a few more minutes because we do have a load of questions that have come flying in. You've all given me a lot here. Food for thought. That's what I can say. So yeah, we'll have to wait and see what goes on here. But Komoto behind me of Bruce Brody, aka Brody Lee, very talented big man. I have to agree with you. He is a talented big man. I can't wait to see him break out on his own because it gives me those vibes as well. Does WWE own Batista's theme? I Walk Alone. I'm guessing so. Every time Batista comes out, that is the theme that's used. So I'm guessing they still have the rights, although we've not seen Batista for quite a while now. But of course, Saliva were the band that performed that. And Saliva, a fantastic band as well. I have to say, I'm a big fan of that band and love some of their previous work. If not, check them out. Go on to your favorite streaming music service and whack in Saliva. You get the I Walk Alone and you get some of their great songs as well. They've got some fantastic albums. Keeping it with you as well, will ROH and AEW have a working relationship? I want to see a faction with Andrade and Rouge. Well, that's the way to do it, isn't it? We said about contracts expiring. If you can't break a contract and you want to get a working relationship, to get these guys together, it makes a lot of sense. Do you know what? I love your thinking. I want to see it as well. Makes a lot of sense. Yes, please. Chris Paul Lee is with us now. Thank you, Chris, as well, for joining the stream. Are you ready for TakeOver? Yes, I am. And you're saying it already. Volta versus Dragunov. I don't want to miss that match. And see, Paul White theme was by Brand New Sin, who did well. It's Big Show's WWE theme. There you go. It's the same band there. Apparently, just a little side topic before I tackle the other question there. Apparently, Bray Wyatt, of course, with him being released as well, the group that did his one said wherever he goes, they want to do his next theme as well. So decent themes will be following these superstars wherever they go. And I did think it was a similar one with the Big Show. So it's great that you brought that out there to our attention today. But for TakeOver, yeah, I mean, let's be thing. Takeovers are takeovers. It doesn't matter what's going on NXT TV. And I enjoy NXT TV, but I look at this takeover, it does look stacked. And you say that Volta versus Dragunov, that's enough to get me invested. The other thing I was a bit bemused by was the fact that Dragunov lost to Pete Dunne this week. That didn't really make sense to me. It would have made sense for Dragunov to have won the match, then Volta to have come down afterwards, maybe Dunne jumping from behind, give a beat down, and then Volta come and just look dominant over Dragunov to end the show. That would have made more sense for me because we don't need to see Dragunov looking dominant going in because Volta is the most dominant guy. We know these two have got history. They've done the prime target thing. That would have been a better booking in my personal opinion. But you know when these two are going to be under the lights and going to be performing in front of people this time, this is going to be a match and a half. And I really hope they're given a good length of time here. I want at minimum 20 to 25 minutes of these two going at it. I think it would be awesome. But I do know as well we are going to get a very long, what's probably going to be main event for those 3 stages of hell. Yes, they call it 2 out of 3 falls, but Adam Cole and Kyle O'Reilly is probably going to be very lengthy, kind of like what it was with Adam Cole and Gargano a couple of years ago. Why has Cody versus Moxley hasn't happened yet in AEW? Your guess is as good as mine. I'm guessing, well, Cody's been a babyface for most of the time, regardless of what the fans think. But yeah, John Moxley as well. I won't do that again. That probably was a bit weird, wasn't it? It's a bit awkward. But John Moxley as well. He did start as a heel, didn't he? And then he went to being a babyface, and now he's got a wild thing going on. I do think if we get Cody to transition into a heel, that could work into a great fun feud. I think this works within kind of the same story on what I said with CM Punk and Cody could work. That would work really well with Moxley as well. The anti-establishment, the sort of, you know, he's anti-everything of what there is. And I think them two can have a really compelling storyline if they were to go out. So it's definitely a feud I want to see in the future. Like you said there, we haven't had it yet. Hopefully we will get it one day. Jonesy, do you get the 1997 vibes of all this talent jumping and on wrestling on TNT? Yeah, I do. I don't just get, I get earlier vibes. I get like 95, 94, 96. I mean, WCW used to take so much talent and they were all jumping over. And like we say, 96 particularly. I mean, when Scott Hall and Kevin Nash came over, that was the real big jump that really kick-started things. That's almost what you could see with Punk and Daniel Bryan. That could just be that nudge that gives another few 100,000 to AEW each and every week on both of their shows. I mean, people are expecting Punk next week on Rampage. So I expect whatever rating you get this week from Rampage, it will hold up and probably be more next week. I really think everyone knows Chicago's the place. They're going to build that as well on Dynamite this week. Expect Rampage next week to be really, really hyped up. And yeah, am I getting those vibes? I am definitely getting those vibes, Jonesy. I am hoping I'm not on my own. Hope everyone feels the same as me. Number of questions come flying in, so I'm going to keep going for a bit longer. But we've got here everything. I want to see Bryan Danielson against Jonathan Gresham with a pure rules match. Mike, you would be complete. Do you know what? Yeah, I would agree. That's got dream match. I almost want to see Bryan Danielson against Johnny Gargano, but if you could can't get that now. He's left. So if I could get this Forbidden Door stuff, and I think Bryan Danielson will have the freedom to do whatever the hell he wants. He can wrestle wherever he wants because he's going to have a bucket list of wrestlers he wants to face. And if Jonathan Gresham is not on that list, then I will retire, I think, from this because, I mean, literally, that would be a match. Whether it would be able to happen, we'll have to wait and see. But I would hope we would see it. Goodness, I need to have that in my life. Yes. Right, Jonesy, we're back with you once again then. What did you make of the finish of Raw RKO splitting or the continuation? Really strange way to build their match. It felt more like a promo for Orton and Riddle. I agree. It was very strange, very weird, but it felt like Orton kind of did it with tongue in cheek. He kind of consoled Riddle afterwards. We didn't see this malicious viper that we saw with like when he did it to Edge and Beth Phoenix and other people in the past. So I do think this is almost like, oh, Riddle, I'm back and I do what I want when I want. will be RK Bro when I say we're RK Bro. It's almost sending that sort of message. I think we still get RK Bro against AJ and almost at SummerSlam. I think SummerSlam is where we're going to get the big pop of them actually accepting that they are a proper tag team. But it's a weird way of doing it, but I do think they're on the same page, and maybe they might do still a weird dynamic on Raw this week to build up further, but that will be the match coming into SummerSlam regardless at the end of it. Also asking, where do I see Bronson Reed going? I think AEW is where he'll go because he definitely wants to face Miro. I would personally prefer he went to Impact Wrestling, but I think AEW will be the place because AEW, well, they have a lot of people on their roster. They probably don't need any more, but yeah, I can still see it happening. Chris Paul, I hope Drew is heading to SmackDown. That's my opinion of Happy Drew, is to get a refresh with a feud with Jinder Mahal. I agree as well. I think it's good to see that feud with Jinder Mahal. I hope Drew goes to SmackDown as well. I have a video on my channel, which I recommend to go check out if you haven't already. It's how I booked Drew McIntyre between now and WrestleMania 38. And I do have Drew moving to SmackDown. So that gives you a bit of a slight teaser of what happens after SummerSlam, and you can see everything from storyline playing out month by month from there to WrestleMania 38. Definitely recommend checking out if you haven't already. But yeah, I love that analogy. I would love to see it personally happen myself as well to give them a refresh. Underground, the Radicals, Benoit, Malenko, Eddie and Saturn, and of course we've got here equals Punk, Bryan, Reed, and Andrade. Similar, lol. If they all turn up together in the crowd, that would be freaking awesome, wouldn't it? If they had that sort of vibe going. Of course, Andrade's already there, but I get the theme you're going with. Yeah, personally would love to see it. We've got a reply here to you as well saying would love the idea of Bryan opening the Forbidden Door for ROH and as well for AEW as well. That would be pretty awesome to see also. I want to see Bryan against everyone. I know he wants to do New Japan as well, so I'm guessing he'll get that green light also. Even in Impact Wrestling, the likes of Ace Austin and Chris Bay and Josh Alexander. You know, I mean, Daniel Bryan is going to need to wrestle for quite a few years for the matches I want to see him do before he hangs them boots up. Jonesy, the end of Rampage tonight is to find out who's Britt's opponent. I like it to see Jade Cargill or Camille. Then that'd be interesting. Both of those would be interesting. I mean, Camille there. I mean, also for starters, NWO Women's Champion. That would build on further, as we said with Zach earlier. We kind of have a bit of story building in. We see Camille that she can perhaps start going through the AEW Women's roster to build herself to that position. Jade Cargill, I think, will be on Rampage more than Dynamite. Not just because she's that B, but because she's been doing her stuff on Dark and Elevation. They want to build her up as a megastar. Rampage is a place to do that. I think that there'll be a number of weeks she will be the women's match that will take place on that show. But this week, they've gone for obviously the big AEW Women's Championship match. So I think it's probably too soon for Cargill to be in that position, but it wouldn't surprise me if AEW put all the chips in. You get where I'm going with that. Is Vince McMahon and his team replacing Triple H and his team in NXT? I hope not is going to be my answer to that one. I really hope not. I have seen some radical, I will use the word radical, it's been used earlier in this stream, suggestions today of Triple H being wanted out with NXT because they failed against AEW. It's ludicrous, personally, absolutely ludicrous. I mean, the most entertaining WWE TV has been NXT for a number of years. So for me, it's just, it could make NXT even worse. But I really hope that Triple H does stick around personally. That's what I would like to see. Underground says he sees Bronson Reed in Impact in the X Division, go through the door against Miro. Or if he stayed with WWE, I would have him in the Bloodline. Or if he went to New Japan, a match against Shingo or Ishii. I'm guessing that Bronson will want those matches in New Japan as well. I could see him being one of these ones that probably get to go around everywhere and do the Forbidden Door stuff that you're talking about. I hope it's Impact, as I said earlier on a couple of times now, but I do expect that it will be in the end that he will actually be going to AEW. God, you've all got lots of questions in. You're keeping me going, aren't you? You're lot here today. Thank you so much. I will keep going for a little bit longer. I think the maximum now, I will do an exact cut off now. We've got 13 minutes to go and we will definitely cut off from there. So I'll come, first serve for the rest of those questions. Really interesting how WWE counters CM Punk debut next Friday with SmackDown on the same day. 2 words, Becky Lynch return. Well, that would be one way that would get people talking, wouldn't it? The only thing I would say, though, is that SmackDown, of course, isn't on the same time slot, so they can't effectively do anything about it. That's the thing. How many people will be checking it out and how many people will talk about it at the end of the night? You know, Twitter's going to blow up either way, even if Becky Lynch returned. It's a big name, and it definitely rivals CM Punk. I think everyone will be talking about both. But, I mean, everyone will be talking about Punk still. They won't drown it out, whoever they bring in. They could bring back The Rock. People will still be talking about CM Punk. Should WWE create a new developmental brand for tall muscle wrestlers under the age of 30 and NXT do its own thing led by Triple H? Well, I mean, that could have been the thing now. I mean, NXT is supposed to be what it was, but it's now NXT and it's gone to a different direction. So they probably could have done NXT Evolve, and that could have been the place to done it, or just have Evolve in general. They bought it out, so why not do that? That would have made sense for me to have done this under 30 thing, big, tall, muscular wrestlers, put them then into NXT, or then put them straight to Raw SmackDown once they're ready. The only thing is WWE has so many shows already. Like I said, I don't watch 205 Live. I rarely get a chance to see NXT UK these days. And there's a load of wrestling that I could watch that I don't watch because there's just so much out there. So maybe WWE is aware that perhaps there's just too much out there. But yeah, I mean, perhaps maybe that's something they could have looked at to have done as an alternative, because I definitely think it would make more sense, because NXT has gone so much in the other direction. It has become its own brand. NXT isn't what NXT represented when it first started. Britt Baker's opponent should be Deonna Purrazzo, imagine. I do imagine indeed. And like we said, Deonna Purrazzo did say this past week on Impact, she's not interested in what's going on in AEW until Tony Khan picks up the phone to her. So, yeah, we're interested to see if that happens one day. I do think it will eventually happen. Chris Pauley, Sheamus was hint in his promo with Damian Priest. Lobster Head is coming back for SummerSlam, and that is going to be a good match. I think it's going to be a good match. It's a match I am particularly excited about seeing. I must admit, it's one of those matches that, again, I wasn't so invested with the build this week on Raw, with the fact that two good matches. I mean, Priest beat Morrison in a good match, but I've seen it about a dozen times. And I've seen it as well with Sheamus and Ricochet. Again, a good match, but I've seen it too often. But these two as a story and as a match, it feels fresh going into SummerSlam. I'm looking forward to it. And I do hope Damian Priest picks up the victory. But be interested to see how it's going to go down. But definitely it's a match I look forward to talking about when it comes to the predictions next week, which I'm looking to do on Tuesday. So nice little plug for you there to keep an eye out for the channel. Also, I love this. Well, thank you. I'm pleased you're enjoying it, and do love everyone that's getting involved here today. Love that you're checking this out. And yeah, if people are checking it out for the first time, please like the video, share the video, subscribe as well, and hit the bell for notifications as well, so that each and every time a new video is released on SCW. Been a bit quieter on the channel this week, but next week, from Sunday, I can guarantee you 4 videos coming within the next week. So there's going to be a much busier week next week here on SCW. Josie says, would you say it's a shame that Fightful, among others, have killed the shock value regarding Punk? Imagine if we didn't know that within so much, it would just turn up. Yeah, I've said it for the longest time, Jonesy. I hate spoilers. They're not really my cup of tea. And now, obviously, news reporting is not always spoilers. They get ideas and they set things out and plans sometimes change and don't work out the way we expect them to. But yeah, I do feel it's a shame that some things get spoiled. And although I'm very grateful for Fightful for letting things out regarding, for example, the talent releases, because we need to know the information, although I'm sure WWE would release that information anyway. Yeah, it would have been great to see this as a complete surprise, but this wasn't possible this particular time. And I mean, we mentioned Fightful. If it weren't Fightful, it would probably be someone like Meltzer or someone like that would have got all the information and released it first. And I think sometimes I've seen, they say sometimes, I have the information. If I don't say it, someone else will. So might as well get the credit for it. So that's what happens. Is it a shame? Yes. But yeah, it is what it is. And like you're going to say, the dirt sheets have ruined the surprise element in 2021. Sad but true. And yeah, I'm going to say sad but true. It is a shame indeed. The dirt sheets do like to spoil things. If only it wasn't social media's debut, it would have been special. I think it still will be special. That's the only thing. But I do agree with you. It would have been so much more special had we not had a clue it was going on. The only thing I would turn around and say is that I would like to say maybe the dirt sheets would be better rather than saying CM Punk. Someone is coming in, because, for example, we knew, I think they were saying about a Texan was going to be on Raw. A Texan was going to come on Raw a couple of weeks. We didn't have a clue it was. Turned out it was Keith Lee making his return, who obviously was from Texas. So that was pretty cool. You didn't know who it was. A former world champion is coming. You can speculate who you want, and then it comes towards at the end there. And then when it comes out, so I told you someone was coming on this show. Even if you have to say, like, before it would be the ending segment, we know a world champion, former world champion is coming in, and you don't know who it is. You still know something's going to go down, but you don't know who. And I think sometimes who hurts rather than what. But then I think it comes down to everyone's prerogative of what they like and don't like when it comes to the dirt sheets. We've got I've seen a rumor that Bryan and Punk will form an alliance in AEW as a tag team. I hope they'll be singles wrestlers. I agree with you. I hope they'll be singles wrestlers. I do. I suppose if they were to come in as in some form of team as an alliance at the start, looking out for one another, if one is, beaten down by the Elite, for example, there's like 4 or 5 members of those. So that makes sense. Well, actually, more than that. We've got Brandon Cutler and Nakazawa as well. So it's like 7 or 8 when you add Callis in there. So in that way, I could say, yeah, if you're watching one another's back, it's okay. But yeah, I would hope that they would actually be singles wrestlers rather than a tag team. AEW has enough tag teams. Focus on the tag team division with the tag teams. Let your single stars do your single thing right now in AEW. That's my personal humble opinion. Don Mills, is NXT dead? If you asked Rated R for Wrestling, he would say yes. And Don, thank you for checking out the stream. In fact, that was a video that Rated R for Wrestling did this week, so highly recommend checking out that video at some stage. I would say NXT, it's dead is not the right word, but NXT has lost its identity, and it has done for a good long couple of years. As I said earlier in the video, once it was competing on with Raw and SmackDown at Survivor Series, going to the USA Network has all those indie darlings in, and then obviously the indie darlings go out to Raw and SmackDown after winning Survivor Series, and then those people not being successful on Raw or SmackDown when they were the dominant brand together in NXT. Then NXT goes on to lose the ratings war continuously to AEW. That was the thing. There was no fallout from when NXT won at Survivor Series. If they were going to make it where it was the third brand rather than developmental, they needed to follow that up. And instead, they wanted to transition it back to developmental. That doesn't work anymore. So the tradition of what NXT stands for, what it represents, is dead, yes. But is it dead as a brand? It's going to be repackaged. And I hope that they're going to get it right if they're going to repackage it. Because I enjoy the NXT currently that we get, but I do feel that I am more distant to it because of the way certain things are booked, and particularly when I go on to mention about Karrion Kross, the way that he's been booked in the last sort of, 4 weeks on Raw, built him up for NXT for a good year, bring him to Raw, and you end it within a couple of weeks. That all that momentum that they've done, even on the first night when they did with Kross, it's damaging. So that's what really harms NXT, in my opinion. Chris Pauly, if CM Punk was to show up and get ready, Brock is coming back, or Rock showing up at SummerSlam. This is going to be interesting wrestling night. So much wrestling. I love it. And also ROH Glory by Honor night 1 and 2. Well, that's an all-nighter clash, isn't it, for ROH? But I know, of course, Impact Wrestling's World of Emergence is the night before SummerSlam as well. So there's lots of wrestling going on, Chris. That's pretty much the thing. With The Rock, my feeling is Survivor Series is his 25-year anniversary since his debut. If he's going to come back in some format, The Rock to come back to build up towards WrestleMania, whether it's a match with Roman, whether it's a tag team match with an Uso in each corner, whatever they're going to do with it, that I've seen them rumor mill in the past. I think Survivor Series will be the place, not SummerSlam. But Brock could be one. I think Becky Lynch could be another one. I think if I had to predict on money on one that definitely would come in, it would be Becky Lynch. That would be my potential one, and just got to say Lowell as well. Yeah, we've got Jonesy here. It says, let's look at the facts. Underground, Daniel Bryan and Punk debuted all watered down. I think it's possible for Twitter to avoid spoilers. That is true. It's hard to avoid spoilers, sadly, and that's just unfortunately the nature of the beast currently in 2021, as you guys have gone to say earlier on. And Underground, it's been dead for a long time. That's what Underground has gone on to say there. Underground says that as well with the Punk rumors, but first hand on my television, that's when he'll believe them. Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. When Punk is there in living color, little cheap plug there for the band, I think that would be pretty special, and that's when you're going to really believe it. Hope as well here for Black and Murphy to have renewed their rivalry in AEW. I've seen this video thing going on with Murphy. Could almost be an alliance going on, but yeah, I want Malachi Black to remain alone. Personal opinion, I don't want to see that just yet. So yeah, let's see how that goes down. Aleister Black against Bray would be incredible. Could be like Undertaker, Kane, or Vampiro versus Sting, and give me 90s chills. We love a bit of 90s here on SCW, and I know, Jonesy, you do as well. We both grew up with the 90s, and we love that sort of stuff. So yeah, I do think under the right banner, and I'm going to say it here, AEW would book that much better than what I think WWE would. So yeah, I actually agree with everything that you're saying there. So Buttergrit is back with us now. It says, what is on my bucket list for WWE and AEW to happen through to 2023? Goodness, that's a long time away. With WWE, excuse me, I would have to say quite simply, consistent storytelling. Making new stars, not having to rely on Goldberg and Cena coming back, actually using when those guys do come back to put fresh new talent over to establish this new main event scene. That's personally what I want to see from WWE. That would make me happy in itself, seeing people like Keith Lee actually at the top towards the end of the company, and seeing another women's main event at WrestleMania. In fact, I want to see to the point where people don't make a fuss about women's matches being main event. I want it to just seem as the norm. That's how I want to see it with that from WWE. And they're going the right way about it, by the way. So that's not a dig on that sort of side of it, really, because we've had Bianca and Sasha main event on night 1 of WrestleMania this year. AEW, I want them to bridge the gap. I want them to continue doing what they're doing because I'm enjoying what I watch on their TV every single week. They want to continue to use these established stars to grow the ratings up and continue to build these new stars coming up as well. People like Hangman Page to be, fully, rolling with the company at that point, MJF, and seeing these other ones, like we mentioned, Danny Garcia actually in this video, looks to be a heck of a talent. Wheeler Yuta looks to be a heck of a talent. Find these ways to make these people, for the next 10, 15, 20 years could be the faces of AEW if all booked correctly, along with Jungle Boy, Orange Cassidy. That's how you make a company and you make new stars. And AEW, they're on the way to doing that, even with like Sting and Darby Allin as well. So yeah, those are the things that I particularly would like to see. And if I could have my dream, wrestling would be the most popular thing going once again, like it was in the late 90s. But then at this point, saying what is on my bucket list, I think I'm dreaming at this point. Would I be surprised if EFW releases an NXT star who is a current champion due to budget cuts? Wouldn't surprise me at this rate. I think that's the only thing that's left happening is seeing actual current champions being let go. I would hope that they would actually make champions lose championships before doing so, but yeah, that would immediately kill credibility of a championship, particularly in NXT as well. It would actually harm any championship if they were to do that, but it wouldn't surprise me. So yeah, that's where I go with that. Matthew Browns is with us now. It says plot twist: Lashley beats Goldberg. Big E cashes in. He tries to do it, but Ricochet attacks Big E without cashing in, and Ricochet is to join Lashley MVP and Keith Lee possibly as I guess a new form of the Hurt Business. Well, I mean, I enjoyed the Hurt Business, so I wouldn't be against an idea of that. I think that'd be quite a fun-looking stable. But I do think that Big E will cash in at SummerSlam. I do think he'll be successful on Bobby Lashley after he defeats Goldberg. Am I giving away my SummerSlam predictions too early? I won't say anymore. Wait till Tuesday. Martin Carrillo, Dan, what's the point of the brand to brand invitation? We'll keep using to refresh a bit of the main roster shows. Well, there you go. I mean, they did this week with Corbin. I kind of liked it though this week in a weird way, but hey, it is what it is. It's because I'm enjoying the Corbin character. That's pretty much it. But I have seen Corbin versus Drew too many times for those who not being on the same show. Tommy End and Matt Silver and Chris Hero at the House of Black. That would be quite an interesting stable. I have to agree. Martin Greer as well. I can't wait to watch Paul White turn 50 times a year on AEW. I can imagine him turning on Shivani. Now that would be a sight to see. I already said about the sight for sore eyes what he would be wearing if he was wearing ring attire, Shivani. But goodness, yeah, if Paul White was to turn on him, that definitely would be something of a talking point, wouldn't it? But thanks so much for a great stream. Thank you very much, Jonesy. I did say I would stop at this point. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to just look through very, very quickly of people, if there are any that actually have not answered questions, and I'll pick one or two out as we go along. Jason, it's actually, I don't think he's asked a question yet. Do you like the Corbin now? I do like the Corbin gimmick. I'm liking what they're doing with that. Can't wait to see where it's going to go going forward. We've got as well, thanks from Chris as well. I really do appreciate it. In fact, I'm going to do a little bit more because you've all put questions in. We've got a little bit more time to do. I can spare another few more minutes, literally a few more minutes. So I will do that. Imagine if Punk helps Cabana get out of the Dark Order with these weird video packages. And if it's Bray Wyatt as the cult leader of the Dark Order, CM Punk versus Bray Wyatt. Love the fantasy booking. Be interesting though with Punk and Cabana. Are they actually on good terms now? I hope they are. They'll obviously, if they're working on the same company, would be quite interesting to see. But I love the fantasy booking that's gone on there. Really fun. I think the most loyal WWE stars are Orton, Miz, Ziggler, Sheamus, Kofi, Seth, and Roman. I would have to agree with that, and I think those ones probably feel very safe right now in the contracts. If anyone is safe in WWE, and what an upset from WWE. They should sign the talent they want to use, avoid doing the budget cut reasons and burning bridges. Have to agree with that. Have to agree. The thing is if they use the talent they've got now and use them properly, that'll be fine. That'll be better. At least it will give people a purpose, of the talents there to feel, well, we're here being used for a reason. That would be quite fun to see. But yeah, I am a little bit, yeah, I don't have faith in WWE. I think I've thrown that in this video enough times already. Why is Batista not appeared in AEW yet? I think it's because he's waiting for his Hall of Fame induction, or if he's too busy with his acting roles. Can be the reason. I think he's got loyalty to WWE. I don't think he needs a reason to go to AEW, but of course, I wouldn't be against it because just it would be fun to see him there. And of course, it's a big name that would probably draw a rating. But again, it's all about building those new stars as well. So that's the reason he'd come in. I don't want to see him do a long-term stint. AEW has a big enough roster currently, particularly men's roster at this particular time period. I don't think they need any more men in there right now. Josie, at what point should AEW stop signing WWE releases? When they have got the ones that I think can make a difference, that's when they should stop doing it. I mean, they do have a big enough roster, but it probably will come to a point they will probably release or not renew contracts going forward. So that's probably going to be the reason why. But I mean, when you see people like that are rumored now, like Bray Wyatt, Braun Strowman, I mean, Adam Cole could be one there. If you mention AJ Styles, those you sign those up. You don't even think about it. They need to be signed up. So that's what I'm going to say with that. Why is WWE's roster page so outdated? I've got no idea. I hope they sort their renders out soon as well, because it does make the thumbnails look a bit outdated as well when they're making a YouTube video. So yeah, I would hope that they would sort that out soon as well. Yeah, it's I hope they do it. And Underground, we've missed you, bro. I see you married now. Congrats. Thank you very much. Yes, I did. That's why I was away. I was actually getting married to my beautiful wife. I grabbed the brass ring, as they say. So thank you very much for the congratulations. Really does mean a lot, Underground. I really do appreciate it. And of course, it is good to be back, and it's good to be getting your questions on these streams once again. Jones says that, to be fair, we knew Goldberg was coming back a week before. WWE are brutal. I think deleting Twitter is the best option. If the whole wrestling community did that, I think it would work. But unfortunately, it still gets out because there's Facebook groups, there's Instagram groups and posts and stuff. If you're on social media in general, it's pretty unavoidable at this point. Should they really change the name of 205 Live and brand it as developmental brand? That would make a lot of sense. We talked about this earlier. If they were to do like an Evolve show, this would make sense. And I like Underground's reaction here. 305 Live. I'm pretty sure Odyssey Jones has already been on there. So yeah, Odyssey looks like a big boy. Maybe to go to 405 Live. I don't know, but yeah. Twitter is the worst. Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? And there is some good things about it. There are definitely some good things about it, but there definitely is a few negatives as well with Twitter. Underground 305 and over 6 foot live. Yeah, that would work pretty darn well, wouldn't it? And of course, we've got here Punk and Bryant, besties in the world, name of the tag team champions. That's what it would be. We've got here Derek K. There's only had a couple of questions here. When Trent gets better, do you think Trent will turn on the best friends because the best friends is with Wheeler Yuta without his approval? Interesting question. I mean, the thing is, I worry for Trent. He's had a couple of bad injuries of late, hasn't he? But so I think they would want to keep him with best friends for the time being. But that is a storyline that could work out, and that would be a lot of fun to watch. So yeah, I definitely have eyes for that. I like that suggestion, Derek. We have here. Oh, hang on. Let's get that back up there for you, shall we? There. Should Britt Baker join the Pinnacle? No, I don't think she needs to. She's doing her thing. She's great on her own. She's over. If anything, I mean, the Pinnacle would benefit getting her in the group right now. She doesn't need to join a stable. If they were to get a female member, I would say that I'd want Tessa Blanchard to join the company. That would be the way that I would do it. Why should anyone invest their time in watching NXT when a guy gets demoted? They get ruined. Yeah, demoted instead of promoted, like your style. Reason why I stopped watching it, and I'll just watch their takeovers. Well, it makes sense. I mean, that's the thing. Why should you be invested? I agree with that point. I do enjoy some of the stuff they do on TV, but I agree with that. It's hard to argue, and I think this is some of the reasons why NXT has lost that identity and why people aren't watching it when perhaps maybe more would have been. NXT at the start was doing bigger numbers, and now they're doing near enough, 2/3 of what they did at the start, and this is the reason why. Underground does also say, talking about Vampiro, Darby Allin Sting against Pentagon and Vampiro in a zero fear match. There's just lots of fantasy booking today. I love the fantasy booking. It's pretty awesome to see. Are the releases over? I only can hope so. That's what I'll say. I hope they are, but I don't have full faith that they are. Anything seems to happen at any time. Nick Khan seems to want to make sure any given time that there is no negative sides when it comes to the finance side in WWE. So if it looks like, even though having fantastic periods and some of the best finances ever, if something's going slightly in the wrong direction, expect another budget cut. That's probably what will go down. Why WWE always do the thing that all good things come to an end? All good things have to come to an end. I don't know. They have this thing, don't they, where they like to do that sort of method. Yeah. WWE have their own method of doing things. I think that is probably the best way of putting it. Yeah, I don't really have a good answer for this one, unfortunately. It's just WWE's way. That's unfortunately it. Should AEW sign Ole Anderson if they sign Flair? I'm not sure really on that one. What would be a good idea if they should or shouldn't? That could be fun, but I would turn around and say that, I mean, Ric Flair comes in a Legends role. Maybe Ric Flair then should be the one leading Andrade, but yeah, it's good for having Flair on TNT, but I wouldn't want to see it consistently. It needs to be those odd moments just to make it feel special, because then Flair takes away TV time from younger guys. So for me, I'm not sure if I'd be fully on board with that idea there. We are coming to the last couple of things, so no more questions in, please. Because literally, I think I'm near enough there, nearly caught up there. We've got a few more to go. Underground, you could say that WWE about signing indie guys, 90% of their personal are everybody's favorite indie wrestler, correct? That's pretty much what they were going for. They were going for everybody's favorite indie wrestler. Now they seem to be not doing that. They made sure that, of course, someone like Wheeler Yuta, great talent, was turning heads apparently in his tryout, but they want something completely different now. And if they were to sign people like that, I imagine they would go straight to Raw and SmackDown. But it feels like those superstars now will be going to AEW. And I did notice there was a sign this week about Dan Housen was wanted by one of the fans for AEW. I think that would be quite cool to see as well, because he's a very interesting, unique character. Derek K there. Jealousy storyline with Trent and Wheeler Yuta, who are the best friends of the group. You can feel that with how would I feel about Joey Janela heel turn? And he gets a new gimmick, maybe like a lunatic kind of gimmick. I'll see if this goes on, like John Moxley. That would be interesting. I think Joey Janela needs something. He's definitely lost his way for a long time now. But yeah, I like, as I said, I like the idea there of what you've done there with the idea of the best friends and that storyline. That certainly could be interesting to see. And then we'll see now if we've got any more questions here. I believe now we are on the last couple then. We are literally on the last couple. Matthew Brown's, this will be interesting tonight. Brandy helps Britt Baker beat Red Velvet and Brandy heel turn, but highly doubt it. Will Cody allow it? But it'll be interesting if Brandy heel and Cody's face. Just my opinion. I don't see what's going to go on with Brandy in that format personally. As I say, I'm stuck with me guns. I don't think there'll be any debuts tonight, but I'm sure I'll be proven wrong in about, probably about 4 hours or 5 hours time from now. But we'll have to wait and see as that all go through. But it will be interesting. I mean, they did it at one point where Brandy was a heel with that sort of nightmare thing that she was going on with when she was with what's her face, with Awesome Kong back in the day. So they would go down that avenue again. Who knows? Barry Windham, Bray, and IRS, and Bo, and Barry's sister AEW. That would be dope. That would be kind of dope, wouldn't it? I mean, that's the thing. If you brought Bray in, you could have Bo come in as well. So that could be quite interesting as well. So yeah, I like the dynamic then. Of course, IRS as well. Just having those legends there, just to show their faces, would be quite fun to see. If AEW signs Flair and joins Andrade, then maybe Andrade should affiliate with Pinnacle, since Tully is in the stable, or maybe Arn should too. The only thing with that, though, you get too many members. That's my only feeling with that. I would be a bit worried if it was too many members, but I think Andrade will have his own stable. He seems to want a lucha stable, so I hope they really keep with that vibe going. I don't think they need to partner everyone up like that just yet. But we know what Andrade wants. We'll see if that's what Andrade gets somewhere further down the line. And now literally the last two questions then, or we see Dan Housen and Karen Orr are in talks with AEW Elevation. Interesting. I was not aware of that. That's interesting news to me. So yeah, it would be fun to see if that was to materialize and what that would lead to. And then last one then, should AEW sign Nick Gage? If you're speaking on behalf of Domino's Pizza, they would say no. For me personally, I'm going to be honest. It's not that I'm against this style of wrestling, because AEW likes to do a lot of the gimmick matches. But for me personally, I think Nick Gage suits where he is. I think if you were to put him into AEW, I don't see him beating a lot of the superstars that you have already. So I'm not personally. I don't see the need to bring Nick Gage in full time. That's just my personal opinion on it. I think that Nick Gage is doing very well what he's doing with GCW. I think that's definitely getting more momentum now than it's had for as long as I can remember now. Matt Cardona is the champion as well. Of course, they had that Dark Side of the Ring episode not too long ago. So it's good that he's come in and he got his shot and being on AEW TV. But I personally wouldn't have him in AEW full time though. Should AEW get Brody King? Well, again, it comes to the point, when do they have too many talents? But I tell you, if one talent was to become available, they should sign. Brody King would be one of them. He's a fantastic talent. I am a big fan of Brody Lee. Enjoyed when I do see his work in Ring of Honor, which I must admit isn't as often as I would like at the 2021. But Brody King, I should say. I said Brody Lee a couple of times there. I do apologize. Brody King definitely is a top talent. Is someone that I would definitely hope to see in AEW or NXT or WWE one day. Fits all the bill to be someone that could be a top star. Brody and Buddy, aka Matthew and Black and Ruby and the House of Black, mystery type of stable, in my opinion. I think that would be fun. I like the idea of that. Seems pretty cool. I love the fantasy booking ideas there, and yeah, I think this as a stable would be a lot of fun to see in the House of Black. sign me up and sign me in. And he says it's a fun show. It's just my head for a thought. And I like the thought, Chris, indeed. And that's the note. We're going to finish it off there. So thank you, everyone that has been watching SCW here today for the SCW Live Q&A. It's been great to be back on the channel doing these once again. It'll probably be 2 weeks till I do another live Q&A, but Ask SCW, the regular recorded episode, will be dropping on Sunday. So you can drop a question with the hashtag Ask SCW in this video at the end if you want to have that and have a shout out on that video. That will be dropping on Sunday. And as well as that, next week, as I say, we've got SummerSlam, we've got NXT TakeOver. Those predictions will be on live stream format. As well as that, I've also got on Wednesday the 18th, the SCW Rewind, which was voted by you in the community sections with SummerSlam 2013. And I'm going to be joined by It's My House podcast. Chris will be joining me as a guest. Really looking forward to that. So make sure to go and do that and check those videos out. And like I say, please like, share, subscribe, hit the bell for notifications. And yeah, as I say, drop a comment in some format at the end of this video. It helps with the algorithms of YouTube, really helps the channel out. But that's all from me, anyway. Thank you for watching. Hope you've had a good one. And yeah, it's been great doing this. Really great. Thank you, everyone. Enjoy Rampage tonight. Enjoy SmackDown. Enjoy your wrestling week. And I'll see you once again on Sunday for Ask SCW. Take care. Have yourselves a good one. All the best.